Hello, this is Dr. Dawn Michael. I'm just waiting for my screen to come on here and to get a couple of people. I usually do my live stream on Tuesdays much earlier, but I did want to make sure that I did it today. And I had a crazy day running around doing some errands, so I wasn't able to get on earlier, but I wanted to pop on with you today to make sure that you had some time to ask some of your questions. I'm going to wait for a couple minutes before I dive in to the questions that you sent me to see if I get a few more people on. But the two topics I'm going to be discussing with you, or the two questions that I'm going to go over, is on masturbation and sex robots. I actually wanted to do a whole show on sex robots, so maybe I will do that later, but at least touch upon some of the information that I have. And when I do the video on the sex robots, I'm probably going to attach some articles that I've been reading and give you some more information. So let me start with the topic of masturbation. And believe it or not, I get tons of information on this. You know what? Let me move my mic a little closer. Hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. Oh, by the way, I know that the live stream, I'm not sure if my video comes out clear, but I'm trying to work on it when I save the video because it's kind of fuzzy. And if anyone knows about that technical stuff, please let me know because I'm not really great at the technical stuff. Okay. So I get a myriad of questions on masturbation really from all over the world. So sometimes I'm out of the United States and I get asked questions from many different countries on the topic of masturbation. And some of it is different culturally, what they feel about it, obviously from a religious standpoint. And so I try to give more of a answer that has to do with health more so than anything. So when we're talking about masturbation from a health perspective, it's usually a normal part of somebody's sexual routine that they will masturbate because, as you know, it's part of your body's function. And so if a person has been masturbating their whole life and then all of a sudden decides that they're going to stop masturbating, they will physically feel the effects of that because it regulates your hormones. It also deals with your sex drive. So if you're used to masturbating a lot and then all of a sudden you stop masturbating for a period of time, your sex drive will decrease. And this is even more prevalent with women. I've talked about this before with women, how many times women will get into long-term relationships or a marriage, and then they themselves will stop masturbating, but their husbands continue to masturbate. So maybe their sex decreases and they're not masturbating as much, which means their sex drive will drop, but yet their husband will continue to masturbate and his sex drive will stay the same. And that's where you get this kind of mismatched sex drive. I did a video on that. If you want to look into that, it really explains what goes on with that. So again, masturbation is healthy in moderation. So that's like with anything in life, with moderation. And I'm not talking about masturbation plus porn, right? I'm just talking about masturbation. The masturbation, watching porn is a whole different thing. So I'm just talking about masturbation by itself, and that if your body has a particular sexual pattern that you've built up, usually even if you go in and out of relationships, your masturbation is going to pretty much, work itself out to be the same. Again, if you're overdoing it, then, and it's causing you problems or you're hurting yourself, that's not healthy. So I just wanted to draw it on that line. Okay, so let me take a moment to look at some of your questions, and then I will go on to the question about sex robots. That one's a little bit more complicated. So let's see what we have here. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Can you please talk about delayed ejaculation? I can never orgasm from hand jobs or blow jobs, and it takes me up to an hour or more from vaginal sex. Any way to fix this? It really depends on the person. And first of all, if you're having delayed ejaculation, one thing I might ask is if you're taking any type of an antidepressant or alcohol or anything like that, because that can create delayed ejaculation. That's one of the side effects of an antidepressant. Also, if you're overdoing alcohol or even any type of drug, that can delay ejaculation. So that's from a health perspective on that. One thing that can also delay ejaculation is if you are masturbating a lot and you're becoming desensitized, or another thing that can delay ejaculation is anxiety. So performance anxiety can delay ejaculation. And I call it the hamster wheel, is if you start thinking about it, then you get anxious, and then the anxiety causes delayed ejaculation. And so you have this kind of hamster wheel happening. And that happens with men and women too, but men that have anxiety when it comes to sex, it can have all kinds of problems. It can make it so you're not able to maintain an erection. And the reason being is because when you feel anxious, your body goes into fight or flight response, and the blood that normally goes to your sex organs leaves and goes to your feet. It's like you're trying to get out of there. And so that's something that can be created when you have anxiety. I hope I answered that question. Okay, so let's move on to the question about sex robots. Now, you can look at a sex robot in a way that it could be like from the perspective of a sex toy, right? People have sex toys, they use them to masturbate, and, from that perspective, okay, it's just like an aid in masturbation. If that was the only thing that per se a sex robot was for, but it's not. So we're going to put that aside, because really, if you're just going to compare it to a vibrator or something, then just get a vibrator or, something along those lines. The thing with sex robots, that because they've become so advanced and you can even order them in all different shapes and sizes, number one, it can take away from creating intimacy with a human being, especially if somebody already is having intimacy issues and they go to the sex robot for companionship, and then they start to rely on that instead of going out and meeting somebody. So that could be a real hamper with intimacy. The other thing that I've noticed, but I'd like to do some more research on, is desensitization. So they get desensitized to doing sexual acts with a sex robot that they may not normally do with a person, and they become used to doing that. And that becomes part of their sexual pattern. And so if this is something that they really get used to, they're not able to have a great relationship with a human being. And so it's kind of like you're substituting this for a person. And if that is why you're getting a sex robot, then it can create some real problems. There's some other issues with it that I will talk about if I do a whole show on sex robots. But the more that they become advanced, people really need to think about if they want to be involved with that or not, because it can have an impact, again, on intimacy, on your sexual desires, what you're doing with the robot. You might get so used to doing it that when you meet with a real person, you might think that that's something that you can do with someone, but it's not. And so you might just get desensitized to it. So I'm going to kind of leave it with a little teaser with that on the sex robots. Okay, let me go back and look at some of your questions. Give me a minute here. Is it bad idea to save sex till you get married? You know what? It's not, it's a personal choice. Some people, they get married and they've never had another sexual partner but their spouse, and they're very happy with their spouse because maybe they don't know what it was like to have another sexual experience with someone else. That could be good or bad, but there is no rule to it. I think if that's something that you value and you want to wait to have sex until you're married, then that is a very personal choice. And so I hope I answered that for you on that one. Thank you, Michael Shaw, for the donation. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Do you have a question? Okay, so let's get this next one. Okay. So John put, tell me what you think of this, honestly, please. I was almost addicted to all the dirtiness. I couldn't leave it. It was ruining my life. So I prayed one night to Jesus. Now I've been free ever since. Well, you know what? I do believe in prayer. And I think that prayer has helped a lot of people with their life in many situations. And so, if praying helps you in your life with anything, then I do think that that is something that is really important. And again, it's personal. Everybody has their own idea of the religious beliefs, and certainly I've known people that have had problems with sexual issues, and they have worked through prayer, and it has helped them. So thank you for that question. Eric Fisher. Okay, is it easier to screw a robot than having to deal with a person? That's kind of like a comical question, but the reality is we really do need to deal with people. That's how we create intimacy, and that's how we have relationships. And obviously, you can't really have a relationship with a robot because they're not human. They don't have emotions. And so I would say, that's something that you might want to work on. That's definitely not a replacement for a human being. Thank you, Lee Johnson, for the, do you have a question? I appreciate, I think I have some people from different countries on here. This is really exciting. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. I can't see this. Thanks for not just shutting me off. I will pray for you. God loves you so much. Thank you very much. I love prayer, so I always take in prayers, and anyone who prays for me, I so appreciate it. I have had many instances in my life where prayers have helped me. I've had some hard situations that I have dealt with, and I've always looked to God for answers, and for many people it really helps. So okay, let's see. Eric Fisher, I used to follow you on Twitter before I got booted. I'm so sorry about that. So many awesome people that I used to follow on Twitter got booted too, and it's really been very sad. Something that's very frustrating that I hope changes soon, honestly. Okay, I need to. Okay, someone else is talking about robots. Let me see what else I have here. for your questions. I'm going to scroll up a little. If anyone has anything else, please leave them. Oh, and by the way, thank you so much for all the emails you've been sending me. I just pulled out 2 of the questions today because I was rushing to get on here, but I have had a whole flood of questions and comments, and I've had some really nice feedback from all of you. And so I want to say thank you for taking the time to go on to my website and go into my contact and send me the emails. I do read them. Even if I can't respond to all of them, I do read them. Okay, let's see. Lee Johnson, why do you think my ex-girlfriend keeps calling me late at night to ask how I am, what I have been doing, and calls just to say goodnight? Well, it sounds like maybe your girlfriend cares about you and maybe she wants to get back together with you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the relationship ended or why she's an ex, but women don't just call for no reason. Typically, they either want something, or maybe she's sad that the relationship's ended, but women, they don't just typically call out of the blue like that unless they're looking for something. Okay, I hope I answered that question. From Sunny, can porn distort sexuality and it affects fade with time? That's a good question. Yeah, porn can distort sexuality. Think about it. The porn that is being produced is somebody else's fantasy or somebody else's idea of sexuality or something that they think somebody may want to see. But it's like something being produced for you to watch. It's entertainment. Well, if you think about it, entertainment can even distort your reality. But with porn, it taps into your arousal, it taps into your emotions, and it taps into adrenaline. So it can spike your adrenaline. So you get that that feeling, a little bit of a high feeling. And when you mix that with arousal, people, that's what, I don't want to say it can cause an addiction, because I think that we all choose to turn the computer on or off, or we all choose to turn the phone on or off, but it certainly has a quality to it that feels like an addiction. So the more that you watch it, the more that you get desensitized, and the more that you look for other types of porn that could be more extreme. And the problem is there is extreme porn out there. And so you're exposing yourself to things that you may normally not ever see. And some of those things may affect you in a negative way. It may be something that is, there's violence out there in porn. There's a lot of things that are very destructive and very disturbing. I have seen it affect people that are younger in a very negative way because they think in some ways this is how people have sex, or they want to go out and try it, and it can lead to some dangerous situations. So the second part of your question was, yes, you can back away from it, and that is literally turning it off or minimizing it and not watching it as much. It's just like with anything, the more that you do it, you kind of get sucked into doing it, and you're in that, that phase in your mind, because it really does mess with your thinking. And so it kind of brings you into it. And so the more that you stay away from it, you're not going to think about it as much. But the trick is you have to replace it with something. In the beginning, if you're trying to get away with watching porn, you have to replace it with something physical, like exercise or yoga, or something that's going to bring your endorphins up, because remember, you're trying to replace that feeling. So start replacing it with something that brings your endorphins up, and do it slowly. And also, if you're watching it on a cell phone, that's the worst thing, because it's there. It's like you can access that phone 24/7. So maybe change to another phone, or just put your phone away for a while. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay. Is it harmful to go on celibacy for a long time, like 2 years? No, it's not harmful if you haven't found somebody that you want to be intimate with or that you want to share yourself with. If that's the case, I mean, obviously, if you're in a relationship and your spouse wants to be intimate with you, that might be a problem. But if it's just that you have chosen to do this for a while or you haven't met someone, there's nothing wrong with that. Uh, how much do penises actually vary in size from a more? I think I pronounced your name right. I'm not sure. Um, all different sizes of penises out there, just like there's all different sizes of people. So, it varies in length and width. And so, really, that's it. Just like the size of a person, sizes of people vary. And it doesn't mean the size of a person, it means the size of the penis. Okay. Does the urge of watching porn go away over time if you stop watching it? Can a fetish you've developed watching porn go away as well? Those are two good questions. So, does the urge of watching porn go away over time after you stop watching it? This is a conscious decision, okay? So, if you decide that you're going to stop watching porn and you make that decision that you want to do it for whatever reason, then the urge will slowly go away. But what happens is people don't fully make a decision to stop watching it. That's the biggest problem, is they kind of are wishy-washy with it. But you have to make the decision to stop watching. And the more that you back away from it, the easier it will get over time. But that doesn't mean that you should stop masturbating. You can still masturbate without watching porn. And that's where people fail. The second thing, first one is they don't make a commitment to stop watching it. The second thing is they think they have to stop masturbating. And the most important thing with the masturbation, and also when you're talking about the fetish, is you need to start connecting with your body. And so women are much better at doing this than men. But men oftentimes, when they're so caught up in the porn or so caught up, I'm not sure, in reading something maybe, but it's usually the porn, they forget how to fantasize and they forget how it feels just to be in touch with their body and, what it feels like to masturbate, the sensation, slow it down. And so it's important to get in touch with your body and know what it feels like. And that's really helpful too when you get into a relationship, is if you also know how your body functions. And the other thing with porn that I see as a problem too is if you're in a relationship or you want to get in a relationship and you're watching porn and you're viewing all of this extreme porn that's out there now, and then you go to meet a woman and she doesn't have the same repertoire of sex that she's seen, your mind is going to be so much more expanded sexually than her mind. And that can create a problem when it comes to having sex with each other, because you're so used to getting turned on by all of this extreme stuff and she's not. And so sometimes you may want to push that onto your partner because now you need it, and she may be completely turned off by it. So you really have to, realize that when you're spending all this time watching porn or fantasies or fetishes, the person that you meet or the person that you're with doesn't have the same, hasn't seen the same things with you. I kind of call it like, if you're going to open Pandora's box, it could be a problem if you're like, letting everything out. It's hard to put it back in. Once you've seen it, you've seen it. You can slowly walk away from it, but remember, you've still seen it. Okay, hopefully I answered that one there. Oh, okay, what is wrong? Okay, let me go back up. What was your question? I'm not going to say your name, right? Tigero? Let me go back up and see if I can get your question. I did not see it. Or maybe you could write it again while I'm answering another question. If your spouse was okay with sister wives, is it wrong to love two women at the same time? I'm not sure how to answer that question. You can love two people at one time. It doesn't mean that you have to be sexually intimate with them. I'll leave it at that one. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Okay. You know what? My computer is actually running low and I didn't put the battery in. Really not smart on my part. So if I didn't get your questions, I will get them next time. I will be back on next Tuesday. Please send your questions to me because my computer is about to go out. But thank you so much for all of you who did the super chats. I really appreciate it. And I will be back next week. Okay. As you know, I believe everyone deserves to have a healthy sex life, and so do you. You can reach me at my website, thehappyspouse.com, if you have any questions.